So we know, so the programming fundamentals starts with variables, right? You need something to store data, and that's what you have variables in Python. So these variables are the number types, which are integer and float. The float is the decimal side of it. Integer, it's very simple to define variables. You don't have to specify anything like int or integer, nothing like that. You just say you choose any variable name and you just assign it a value. Then similarly, if you want this value to be float, you just make sure you have a dot after it. Okay, so a dot and a zero after it, this becomes a float number, right? Even though this will evaluate to integer, but by appending dot zero, this becomes a float number. Now if you, so x is 2, okay, so I'm using Jupyter Notebook, so I'll be able to execute the code. Y is 3.0, so I'm going to do x plus y. So since I'm doing x plus y, one of them is the float part. So what happens is eventually the whole data type gets translated into float. So to print the data, I can print it something like this by just using the print function. Then I can use type function to print the data type of this variable z. Okay, so you can see that it is 5, and the float is the type of eventually the result which I'm getting no, from the operation x plus y. Now in this statement, you see that this plus is your arithmetic operator, one of the arithmetic operators. Equal to is an assignment operator, and you must be knowing that the assignment always happens from no left from right to left. So anything you type it this side, on the right side of the equal sign will be assigned on to the something which is on the left side. So next data type is a string, and to define string in Python, you can define a string using single quotes or double quotes. Doesn't matter. Both the strings are exactly the same. This is how I can define a string. If I want, I can actually define another string, something like this, and these are exactly same, right? And there's no difference in the types. Both of them are a string. And with a string, you can do various string operations. So which is, I am doing string concatenation here. So plus operator with strings will act as it will work as to join these two strings. Then string supports indexing. When I say indexing, which means every character of the string can be accessed using the index. Okay, so the first index in most of the programming languages, you can assume that in all the programming languages, the first index of a string or an array or any sequence generally starts from 0. So if I talk about zeroth index for this string, then it will be basically R, which will be at the zeroth index. So if I just simply execute this, you can, so what I'm doing is I'm printing 2, right? So index at 2. So B is something which is there at 2, right? I can simply print this string also by saying print name. And you see, I'm able to print no, a string concatenated value, which is Robinson. To access any index, I'm just using the index of the particular character. The string also supports slicing. Okay, so slicing means you can extract a portion of the string. Okay, that is what is called slicing. Now, slicing is very straightforward. The way you do slicing is uh, like this. We have this name, so I can slice. Let's say I want to slice bin out of. So name currently contains Robin Singh. If I want to if I want to extract, I want to slice bin. I will have to give it the starting character, which is in this case the starting index will be 2. 2 is pointing to bin, right? And then you count no this side. So 2 and 3 and 4, but you have to go one more. You have to say 5, because whenever you are doing slicing, the second value is exclusive. It will not be inclusive. The first value is inclusive, the second value is exclusive. So this will result in slice. If I just simply run this, you see that this is my slice which I'm getting bin here. Okay, now if you want to go all the way till the end, one way is you can either maybe you can count these all the index and then you can supply the value, or you can just simply leave it blank, which means it will go all over to the end. So if I try to slice it, you see that it gives me bin sing. Okay, so
Sir,
yeah,
can you just get it RO instead of the BIN?
you want to get ro.
Yeah,
Okay, yes,
and
no problem. So the position of r is 0, right? So if you say
yeah,
0, you can get it. This is one of the
okay,
ways. You see that you're getting Robin Singh here now. Uh, but since this is the
okay,
beginning of
okay,
the character, you actually, if you want, even you can ignore this also. So because since there is a colon here, Python will understand that you
okay. You can
want
just
something.
put 2 in the other side.
Yes, if you want just RO, then yeah, you can just put 2 on the other side. Okay, so it can be 0 to 2, or you can leave the first character empty also, right? So it will become RO, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so that is about slicing. Now, strings behave very much like a list in Python. We will come to what exactly is list in a while, but list you can understand is a collection of things. List in other languages are the same as arrays. They are collection of things. Uh, so Python behaves in similar way. Even list you can do these kind of operation. Only thing in which string differs from list is the immutability. String is immutable. You cannot change a string. Okay, but list you can change. You can particular item of a list you can change. Strings you cannot change. So now let's say I have a string name is equal to Sam, and you really want to change to Pam, right? So you would think, okay, since I can access the first alphabet by using index 0, I can simply say is equal to P. This won't work, and I will run it and I'll show you. So, so if you see it has started, it is giving me an error. And what it's saying, a string object does not support item assignment, which means strings are actually immutable. So it is failing at this line. So you cannot really modify the string here. What we are trying to do is we are trying to modify the string. This is not allowed because strings are immutable. When I say immutable, which means it cannot be changed. For that matter, there are other data types which are also immutable. Can anybody tell me what are the other data types which are immutable?
Um, a Boolean.
Yes, Boolean, correct. What else?
Uh, this int.
Yes, very good. So all primitive,
Integers, float.
yes, so all the basic types or the primitive types are immutable. So int, bull, string, float are all immutable.
What
And
about character?
there is no
Character
character data type. There is
it comes inside string only.
it is a string only. So character
Okay,
is nothing but a one alphabet string.
okay.
And yeah, and there is one more data structure which is called tuple. Even that is immutable. We will cover tuple. So which means anything assigned to these things cannot be changed. Now, now since we want Pam from Sam, so what we can do is we can just type P and concatenate all the characters starting from 1 till the end, and this is how I can do it. You can do a reassignment. Okay, so name here was a variable which was pointing to the string, but you can always create a new string. So this will result in creating a new string, and you can reassign it to name. Okay, so this will end up creating the new string, and you see. Okay, so we have to just simply comment this out. So I'm just going to comment this out because this is not allowed. So if I run it, you see that it is changed to Pam, right? It is changed to Pam, and just to prove that these two strings are different. So see, I'm printing this ID, right? ID is nothing but it gives you the memory location of a particular object. So Sam is actually a string, is an object of type string, and it is stored at a particular location. when I'm trying to find the ID, actually I'm getting the address of that particular location. Okay, so now once I have done the item assignment here, what I'm saying is actually I'm not changing Sam, rather I'm creating a new string. Now if I print the ID, if I do the same thing here, now if I print the ID, then you will see that these two IDs are different. Okay, these two IDs are different, which means the addresses of these two objects are different. So if the addresses of these two objects are different, which means they are different objects altogether. So we ended up creating the new string. Okay, if the addresses are same, that then you understand that okay, they are actually the same objects, right? So so that is about the string. Then you another other data type you have is the boolean. Boolean has just two values, true and false. So this is how you can actually create a boolean variable, and this is how you can actually use it. You can maybe supply not in front of this, it will turn to false. Now Boolean is also a result of lot of comparison or the logical operations, which we will see in a little bit. So, but yeah, Boolean is another data type. So these are the primitive data types. So, so far so good. Everything is clear. Any question? Okay, so we are good, right? So Pranav, going good for you?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm so yeah. Don't hesitate to interrupt in case you don't understand anything. Okay. Now, Python provides us functions print and input to no input we can use to take users input, and this is how we can simply do it. The syntax is very simple. If you want any input, you just simply type input. That's it. Since input is a function, you have to provide the parenthesis as inputs are the function. Okay, it is the built-in function. Now if I simply execute this, you will see that no, it gives me a prompt. It gives me a prompt without any indication that no, what exactly needs to be entered. So if I, let's say I enter something here, then it provides me another prompt from this input. In this case, it is providing me the text which I am passing to the input function. So what is your name? And then this is, I can write no, that my name is Dhananjay, and then this will be assigned to this variable called name, and this is how I can print it, right? So once I proceed, you see that no, hello Dhananjay, that's what it printed. So so that is how you can use input to get the user input, and you can print that out. One thing which you have to make sure is whenever you're taking any user input, you always get as a string. Okay, so let's say if you want to get no enter a number, right? So you take this and you try to do this. Now I'm just going to write this. So enter a number. So if I just let's say enter a number, but you would see that num which I have created here is actually not a number. So if, to check what is the data type of number, to what is the data type of any variable, you can always use type function, and you see that it is actually a string. And if it is a string, that means you cannot do mathematical operations with it. That means you would have to convert it. Now to convert it, you can use another built-in function called int, right? And this is how you can actually convert it. So once you convert it, this will basically this will be the number, and then you can do any mathematical operation. So this num actually you can reassign to int. Okay, and then you can say num plus num. You can do this mathematical operations and it results in 20, right? So this is about print and input. Coming to operators, so we have these arithmetic operators. These are the ones which you must be really. Yes, Sri Charan, you have any question?
Can you go back to the
that part. Yeah. So can you like declare num as an int in the beginning itself when you say num equals input brackets enter a number?
Okay, so you can actually you can indicate that it is there, but in general in Python you don't say something like this. Okay, so you have to convert it into integer, and this is how you can do right here also. Okay, so in one shot you can do this, right? So you have to do this step.
Okay, and what type does it come? Can I just check?
If you do this, then in this case it will be int only. Okay, so if I enter this, so what is the name? So my name is this, enter number. So let's say I enter 100 and it prints the type as
Okay.
int. Okay,
Okay, thanks.
okay, fine. So now operators, these are the ones, the simple mathematical operators. This is your remainder operator. This will give you remainder of any division. So 5 modulus operator, 5 modulo 2 gives you 1. Then that is the percentage. Then you have star star, which is also called exponential operator. It's also called power operator. This basically raises any number to the power of the previous number. So previous operand. So it is basically these are the two operands. So when I say operands, when you have an operator in between, so and then the operator on which it is acting, they are called operands. So the power operator will act on the operand 1 and it will raise with the power of 3. So this is how power operator works. And then we have this slash slash. This is floor division. Okay, so floor division is very simple to understand. So if I have this, this is actually a normal division. You see that you get this value 2.66. If I want to floor it, which means if I want to get rid of this decimal part, I can just simply do a floor division. So it will divide it and it will just bring it to the floor value, which means it will remove any fractional component, fractional part of it. So this is how you are going to get. So this is what is floor division. Okay. So these are the arithmetic operators. I hope this should be clear. Uh, Moving on, we have so next ones are the comparison operators. So comparison operators lets you compare two operands or two values or two variables, and this is how you can use it. This is equal, comparison for equality. This is for not equal to, this is less than, greater than, less than equal to, and greater than equal to. These are the comparison operators, and you can actually print the value of this. You can actually simply print it. It is used at various places. One of the places, if, right? So if let's say if I'm saying 5 is less than 6, this is, and I can say print true, right? So if I execute this, so this is anyway going to print true. I'm going to so I'll just say this is true. So if I run this, you see that this is true. This is how you can use the comparison operator, right? Uh, so not equals is if the number is not equal, then also you can use it. No, this is true. So this is again statement true. So that is how you can use it. The where you generally use it is in while, if, and elif. So these are the three places you will be using this comparison operator. Okay, so this is how you compare two values. Now we're coming to the logical operators. Now logical operators are used to combine two conditions, right? So when I say condition one would be one comparison. The condition two will be the second comparison. If you want to combine these two comparisons, right, you can actually use these logical operators and or not. Okay, so now now so these are the different. This is basically called the truth table, and this is how these logical operators work. So if the condition 1 is true, okay, and condition 2 is true, so with and, this is the only condition it will be true. So the result of this condition will be true if both of them are true. Okay. In any one of the cases, it will be actually false. It will result in false. If any one of the values is false, it will result in false. When it comes to or, if any of the two conditions is true, eventually it will the logical operator will make the statement evaluate to true. It will be false only in the case both the conditions are false. Okay, let me just take an example. So I will say x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 20 and z is equal to 30, right? So now how do I use this logical operator? So I'll say if x is less than y and y is less than z, then print yeah, so x is smallest, right? So if I run this, you see, yeah, this works, right? So this is how I will be combining two conditions. So this is condition number 1 and this is condition number 2, and I'm using the and operator, which means both of them have to be true for the result to be true. If I want to use another if I want to use or operator, I can just simply say x is less than y, or right. So in this case, even if it is false, I'll say y is greater than z. So in this case, the first value is true. So in this case again, so print one of the values is true. If I do this, you see one of the values. So this works. So the result of if is that this is okay. So we will be covering if. So I'm assuming that you have some idea about if. So if this condition evaluates to true, then only this if no, the block will be executed. So whatever the code is there in if block, it will be executed. Okay. So this is how you will be using and or operators to use. If you can actually use not, so to use not. So you see that this will result in true. You can simply say not. Okay, so if you do that, so this is true and not makes it false. This is not getting executed. So this is how you can actually use not. Right. So that's so that is about the comparison and logical operators. So far so good, students. Am I going a little faster? Is it all making sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fine. So do let me know in case you lose track of anything, because this refresher is for you to bring you all to up to the speed so that you can work on your assignments and all. So fine. So moving on. Now we are coming to another operator, which is called membership operator. Now membership operator, the way it works is you will have different iterables or different sequence. So if you want to find whether something is member of it, then you can use the membership operator. So now so this is a range. Okay, this range is a function which is provided by Python. So let me just go to this. So you guys are clear on the range, or you need a little bit refresher on range? Range is pretty simple to use. It gives you list of integers. I can start my range from 3 to, let's say, 10, and I can specify. So this is my start. The first one is start, second one is stop, and then I can simply assign it a step. A step is the increment between 1 to second number. So I will do this. And if I want to convert, if I want to see this value, I have to convert it into list or tuple, right? So that I can see this value. So if I run this, you see that this range actually gives me these values 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, so this is how you can actually use range. what I'm getting here is I'm getting the list of these numbers, which are basically odd numbers from 3 to 9. And if I want to check, so I can actually assign this to some list. L1 is equal to this thing. If I want to check the membership, I can actually check the membership 5 in L1 and will tell me true. So in that way I can check. So this is what I'm doing it is in the list, but actually I can do directly in the iterable in the range object also. So this is what I'm doing here. So now 5 in range. Can you think what would be the answer? Why it is showing me false?
5 isn't in the range because the values of that range are 2, 4, and 6.
Yes, excellent. Yes, you're right. So that's why 5 is not in range. Okay, so we are checking 5 in range. So you're getting no false. So now 7 not in range. Now this is giving me true, but I do have 7. So what could be the reason? I do have 7 in the range. And in this case, the default step size will be 1. If I don't specify anything, the default will be 1. So why do you see that it is printing true that, okay, 7 actually is not in range?
Last term not considered.
Yes, you're right. So no, always, if you remember the string operation, when we were doing slicing, the second the term of the slicing was exclusive. So that's how it works. The first one is inclusive, the second one is exclusive. So it goes from 2 to 6. So that's why 7 is not in range. Okay. So moving on, now we come to identity operator. Now identity operator is tells you basically you can use identity operator to find whether two objects are same or not. See, I'm using this term objects because Python is purely object oriented language. Everything in Python is object. So anything you create a int value or a string value or data structure like list or tuple, right? All of them are objects in Python. All of them are stored in a memory location and you can access them. All of them are actually objects. They're coming from some object class. So now if you see that, no, I have created name one and I have created name two. Now both of them actually are same, right? So if you see, if I run this, now if I run this, you will see that uh, because let me take you a simpler example. So this is John and this is Sam. Okay. Now name one is pointing to John string and name two is pointing to Sam as a string. Now what we are trying to find is name one is name two, and that's what we are checking with is. What this statement means, we are checking, are these two objects same? Are these two objects exactly the same? Are they pointing to the same object in the memory location? Now in this case, no, these are different strings altogether. So actually they are not, right? So you see it says, okay, it is false. They are not same. Now you can also use is not. Is not is basically no, whether these objects are not equal. So 5 is not y. So here you see these are different objects. This is 5 integer and this is 5 float. So it says, yeah, false. I'm sorry, it will say true. X is not y. That's true, no, because one is int and another one is float, right? That's how you can use identity operator. Now, when I'm saying it is a comparison or it is check of equality for objects. Now, what is the other way you can find whether these two objects are same or not? What is the second way?
X equals Y, X double equals Y, true or false, whatever comes.
Okay, so that will be check of the values. If I say X is equal to Y, It will be true because it will be a check of value. Okay, so the value of both of them are same, but it is not the check of the whether they are same objects or not. Now, as I was saying, right, objects are stored in the memory location. Now, when they're stored in the memory location, they will have an address. And to find address, how do you find the address of objects?
Type.
Sorry?
Oh, ID.
ID, excellent. So if I print ID of X, let me just print it. Okay, if I just simply print it and then I print ID of Y. Now this anyway, we have seen that this is true, but when I run it, you see that IDs are actually different. ID of X is different than ID of Y, but there's huge difference. I was not expecting, but maybe the float is stored at a entirely a different location altogether. If so, let's say if I had Z is equal to 6 and I was printing Z also. Yeah, so you see all these are different objects. They're stored at different memory locations and they have different IDs. Okay, so if they're different IDs and you check for equality with is, it will say, okay, they are actually not, they're different objects. So that's what. So identity operators, this is and is not are identity operators. They let you compare two objects for the equality, no, whether the objects are same or not equality, rather whether the objects are same or not. Okay, so we have is instance. You can actually, let's say if you have any variable, you can uh, have like, no, if I have x is let's say equal to 10, then you want to check, hey, is x int or float or what it is. So you can actually check like this. So x is int, x is not x is not float. So is instance, you can use is instance. Actually, it's a function, but you can actually use it as an operator as well to check the type of any variable. No, you can, for that you can use it. So that is about that. Now coming to compound operator. Compound operator again is pretty straightforward. As you progress, as you become more proficient programmer, you may want to optimize the amount of code you write. So instead of doing something like this, x is equal to x plus y, you see that no, we are adding something to x itself and assigning back to x. We are typing too much. So program generally, most of the programming languages provide us this shorthand called compound operators, in which we can actually get rid of one of the variables, because this is common, no, on the left side and the right side. So you can just get rid of this and get this operator on the other side. So you just simply say plus like this. It'll result in the same thing. Okay, it'll result in the same thing. So this is what is happening now. Ignore this 81. So can you tell me what will the value which will be printed eventually? Just read through the code. Ignore 81. It is not 81.
ID. 14.
Okay. Okay. So that's a good guess. Any other guesses?
No, not 14.
Okay. Is compound operator clear, students?
Is it 49?
Yes, you're right. It's 49 actually. What is happening here is x is becoming 7 because we are adding 2 to x and assigning it back to x. So x is becoming 7. And here we are saying x raised to the power of 2. So it becomes actually 49. So you're right. Okay, so if elif and else, so this is one of the ways in which you start deciding the code flow of control. Okay, so otherwise, if you don't have flow of control statements, your program will run from top to bottom. But many times you want your program to take different paths, and you can control. So one of the flow control statements are if, elif, and else block. So this is how you can use it. With if, you provided it the condition. Now this condition, if it is true, it will execute the code block of the if. Now, if you look at if, you have to see that there has to be an indentation. That is how you define the code, which actually this code which belongs to this if. Now, I can have many statements. I can have many statements like this, but I need to maintain exactly the same indentation, same spacing between them to make it part of the if block. Okay, so that's how you indicate blocks in Python, right? Now, to indicate blocks in Python, first thing is you always have this colon that marks the starting of the block, and then whatever the statements which are part of that block, they need to have this indentation. Okay, so now in this case, the person name is Gregory. So this will be false, which means this will not be executed. This means that it will execute this, right? It will actually evaluate this, right? So elif will be executed only if the if is no, not executing, because the condition with if is false. So elif will be executed, elif will be evaluated, and if this condition is true, it will actually go inside it and will print it, and then it will not execute else block. So out of no if elif else, and you can have many elif in between, but at a time only one will be executed. If one is executed, the other will not be executed. All right, so in this case, since it is George, so it's going to say welcome George. If it was Sammy, oh, it would have said welcome Sammy 2 times, because we have 2 statements in if block. Okay, is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Fine. So moving on. So moving to now data structures. Now we are talking about, so data structures comes from data. When you have a lot of data, how you arrange the data in different ways, that's where you call them as data structures. List is one of them. Now, list is something which is similar to arrays from other languages. Only thing is, in Python, your list can be heterogeneous, which means your data types for items can be of different types. Okay, these are all different types. You can have anything inside the list. You can have a tuple, you can have a dictionary, right? You can have Boolean, all that you can have in list. List will not complain at all. It will work without any issues. So that is what is list. List comes with a lot of its operations. So here is one list which we have created. So if you see, we have created this list, and L1 is the list, and it contains these values. If you want to check what are the functions of L1, you can maybe on your Python shell, you can just tab and you can check out, okay, these are the different functions. Other way is actually you can use directory function, which will just list the names of, so ignore the underscore ones. They're actually the private functions. You look into the ones which are right here. So you can quickly get the list, but more elaborate way will be if you can just simply call help on L1, and you get to see, okay, you have all these functions defined here: append, clear, copy. You get these definitions also, right? So, and to exit out of this, you just simply press Q. So these are the different list operations, and simply no, these are the main ones. You can actually always try all of them. There's no issue. Append is just to add any element. So I have L1, and I can just simply append any item to it. Let's say I am appending 100, so L1 now contains 100. Copy will produce a new copy of this, right? So this is what it will do. This is actually a new list altogether. That's what it is. The copy has created. It has created a new object, new list altogether, right? So extend is, you can extend this list. I can extend this list with another list. Okay, so what will happen is all the items from another list, I can have another list. At the moment, I'm just using same list L1. I can do it, right? So see, it has, all the items from the second list have been added to this list. This is slightly different than append, right? So let's say if I define another list L2, and this is 4, 5, 6, right? And if I say L1 dot append L2, can you tell me what will happen now?
Will 4, 5, and 6 L2 be added after at the end of L1?
Okay, so what will be added after at the end of L1? Will it be 4, 5, 6 or the list entirely?
4, 5, 6?
Okay, so that is what is difference between append and extend. So if you see, if I append a list, you see list will come as an item, one item, which will be part of this list. Okay, but if I had extended it, then the result would have been different, right? So I can actually remove this list, and I can just simply say L2 also. So you see this list is gone. Now instead of append, if you see, if I do extend, I'll do simply extend on this. Now if I print L1, you see that actually the items are added now. Items are added now, not the list. Okay, so this difference is clear, right, between append and extend, right? Any confusion? Okay, okay, students. So far so good. Not hearing from others. So Pranav, Ishan, Humayun, everything is good?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, so all this is making sense, right?
Yeah.
Okay, or am I going too fast?
Respond.
Guys, can you hear me? Pranav, Pranav, Humayun, and Ishan.
Yes, I can.
I think everybody else went AFK.
I am here only.
Away from keys.
Okay, okay, fine. So all this is clear to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So coming to this nested list now. So nested is nothing but a list inside the list. Now let's say if I wanted to access this item, right? So tell me, how will we access hello? If I want to access hello, how do I get this value?
List 3 brackets 2
Yes.
bracket 2.
Excellent. Yes, that's how you access it. Okay, is it clear to others? So basically what we
Can
are
I
doing,
explain, sir?
yeah, okay. So what we are doing is we are actually accessing this element. So this element, this is one element. As I said, in list you can add any object. So this is this inside the list. This is my another object, okay, which is another list. But for this list, this is actually just one element. Okay, it is just one element. Now, how do you access this one element? You will access by index 2. So if I had accessed just 2, and if I print it, you see it has got hold of this. Okay, so once you have got this list, you can always chain it. You can actually now you can go, you can provide another index. You can go to any value of this. Okay, so let's say I wanted the first value. If you wanted the first value, you can just simply go to 0. Okay, and then you get the 3. And if you going to the second, you have to just press no, you have to go to index 1, right? So you know that index in list also starts from 0. So item at 0th position will be 1 for this list, right? So now since we wanted to access hello, the way we will be doing it is we got list as at 2 position, we got the entire list. Now to get this element, third element, we have to go to index 2. Okay, and that's how we get this item hello, right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now since lists are mutable, you can change them. So this particular item, actually I can change it. I can just simply say hello to no bye. Okay, so I'll just say yeah, so this is what I'm printing here now. But if I print list 3 here, you'll see that it has now it contains bye. I can modify it. Okay, I can modify
Okay,
it,
sir.
and it will start reflecting here. Okay, so lists are immutable. You can modify any object which is present inside the list, right? And this nesting can be any deep down. It doesn't matter how deep it is, right? You can always access it. You go element by element, you can always access any level of depth in the nested list, right? So this is about the list. I hope it's all clear to you guys, because there are a lot of assignments on lists, and actually there are a lot of assignments on strings also, right? So we can actually do a little bit of I'm saying 1 or 2 string assignments to see how to go about it. But this is all about list, and I hope it is all clear. Moving on, we are moving to another data type, tuple. Very easy. Exactly same as a list. Only difference is you cannot change. Once you create a tuple, you cannot actually change it. Okay. So now, how do you create a tuple? You can simply use normal brackets. Okay, and you can assign any value. You can have any any data types. You can have another list inside it. No issues, right? Uh, so this has to be list. So now if you see T1, this contains this this tuple, right? And if I, let's say, if I try to modify first element from 4 to 40, I can, if I try to do this, no, to access 4, I will have to just say, go to index 0 and get this element. Now, if I try to modify it, see, it will say tuple object does not support item assignment. The same error which you got when we were trying to assign something to string, right? Through indexes, right? So this is very simple tuple. If you look at the methods or the functions of tuple, you see it has just got 2 functions, count and index. The reason being is that you cannot do various operations. You cannot remove items, or you cannot add items. You cannot extend, insert, append. You cannot do anything with this. So you just simply can count and add an index. What element is there? You can actually simple. So if I say this, so you get so 4. So this 4 is present at the 0th index, right? So if you access John, is present at index 1. Okay. Tuple is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, can you repeat once again?
Okay, sure. So tuple is very simple. Everything, the way, if you have understood list properly, it works exactly in the same way the way list works. Only thing is No, only thing is you cannot change tuples. Okay, so in fact,
Tuple is immutable.
tuple is
Immutable, right?
immutable. Yes, tuple is immutable. You can iterate through
That's
the
only difference.
yeah, that is the difference. So I can simply
So
iterate.
then I understood, sir.
Yeah, okay, good. So if I say print, and I can iterate over it, through it, using a for loop. Okay, so see, I'm going item by item. Okay, so I use a term called iterate. Iterate is nothing but going over each one of them, and then you can perform some action on it. You can perform some action on each item. So that is what is called iteration. So this here I'm doing 3 iterations because there are 3 items. So I'm accessing 3 items and I'm doing some action on them. In this case, I'm just doing a print action on them. So that is what is called iteration. Okay. Now this, since you have understood tuple, now I'll just tell you, you can see this list is inside this tuple. Now list can be modified. Okay. Tuple cannot be, right? So we can actually modify this list. Now, if I want to access it, see, I have accessed it. And if I want to modify the first element from 4, I want to make it 40, I can actually do it because I'm not modifying really the tuple. I'm modifying the list which is inside the tuple. But if I try to remove it, it will not allow you to remove it. Okay.
How did that become 40, sir?
Yeah. So right. So tuple is immutable. That is true. But the list which is inside the tuple is actually mutable. You can change it. Okay, you can change the list
Okay.
which is inside the tuple. You can do it, right? But you cannot remove this list from this tuple. That is something which you cannot do. Okay, you
Okay.
cannot remove this element. But any operations inside in the list, you can actually do it. You can do anything. No, you can say I can, so this will give me the list, right? This is giving me the list. I can actually even append something to it. I can append something to it. So I'll say, uh, okay, so you see that, no, it has got this element. Okay. Um,
Okay.
but I cannot really remove, I cannot get rid of anything. It does not provide me any element like that, right? It does not provide me any operation that I can do a remove of it. Okay. So I really cannot change tuple, but yeah, I can keep on modifying because this is mutable. I can keep on changing. Primitive types are immutable, so I cannot change them. Okay, so that is something which is an interesting thing for tuple, where you can actually, if you have something which is mutable data type inside tuple, you can actually modify it. Okay, fine. So far, so good.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will just cover this and then after, dictionary is set, and then we will take a quick break of 5 minutes, and then we will come back. Okay, so next data structure is dictionary. Now, dictionary is uh, pretty useful and very common at a lot of places. Dictionary stores key value pairs. Okay, it is unordered collection of key value pairs. Now, many times to access something, you may use a key. Like for example, you know, you can use name. You know, let's say if you're holding up all the property, you list all the properties of yours, height, weight, name, okay, age, all that. So for that, you will have to specify a key value pair. So that is what dictionary is, right? So a very good example would be, you can actually, let's say you have a grocery store, you want to create a price lookup, right? So for any item you want to access the price of it, so you can simply create a no, price lookup dictionary. Now to create a dictionary, you just simply use curly brackets. Okay, the first element would be uh, the basically it is something like this. So this is how you define it. So first element can be anything, any data type. The first element is actually the key. So this is basically key, and this is the values. This is how you will do it. Now key can be any data type, but that data type has to be immutable. Okay, key has to be immutable data type. Value can be of any data type, mutable or immutable. Okay, so which means I can even have like as a string, so I can say apple, and the value can be like 4.5. I don't know what this 4.5 is. Separate second item, you can just simply use comma and then say let's say rice. Okay, and then we will say okay, this is 2, right? Maybe $2 or whatever. This is how you can actually, let me add just one more. So let's say banana. Okay, and this is, let's say 1.5, right? So now this is my dictionary. Okay, you see that these are the key value pairs. Now you can access any of the items. To access any of the items, you simply provide in square brackets the name of the key, and you get the value, right? This is how you can actually extract the values using the keys. Okay, you can also iterate over it. You can use any like for loop to iterate over it, because it is again collection of items. So to iterate, I can just simply say items in price lookup dictionary dot items. This is basically one of the functions. I can simply print. Okay, so should have been items. So you see that I can actually iterate over it. You can check all the functions of this by using the dot operator and then pressing tab twice on your shell, or you can always use the help or the dir function to check out all the functions. So you have from keys, items, keys, pop items. Okay, pop will remove something from it. So pop will actually remove an item from the dictionary, and it must be the last item. So price lookup, price expects at least one argument. So you will have to provide the name of the. So I am popping rice. So it gives me the key, and then that item is gone actually. If you look at this, that item is gone. Right, so that's how you can pop, right? And similarly, there are other functions which you can do it, right? So that's another data structure called a dictionary, and pretty useful in other programming languages like Java and all. It's again used. It's used in many places. Java, JavaScript. They are called hash table, hash map. Okay, so this is pretty useful data structure, right? Now we come to set. Now set is very similar to list. You can actually add elements, you can remove elements, you can do various things you want. Only thing is in set, you cannot have duplicates. Okay, in set, you cannot have duplicates. Rest all is exactly the same. If I can define a variable called set1, and to just create an empty set, I can use this function basically, which is actually the set constructor. So see, this has created set. I can actually then add elements to it. So I can, now you see that I can use add function to it. I can just simply say add 1, and set 1 will contain 1. Okay, I can continue to add 2, 3, whatever. Now, if you see set 1, it contains all these values. Now, if I try to add 3 again, you see no, that will not change this, because 3 is duplicate, it already has it. Simpler way to create a set would be, you can always have a comma separated values, something like list. Okay. Only thing is, instead of square brackets, you use curly brackets for sets. Okay. This is again a set. You can actually check the type of this using type function. It will tell you, okay, it's of class set. Okay. and you can do various operations. The interesting things is you can perform set operations on them. Okay, so if you have done set operations, you must be aware of union and intersection. Those are the things you can actually perform on set. Okay, so these are pretty much the data structures, the basic ones of Python. And if this is all clear to you, then we can probably take a break now. If you have any question, you can ask now.
No.
Okay, fine. So let's take a quick break, and we will just gather back in about 5 minutes. So let's group back at 5:16. Okay. Oh, guys, you're back. Students, you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Okay. So we'll continue with the class. So everybody is back, right? Pranav, you're back. I heard you. Sri Charan, Mayun, and Ishan.
I'm
Among
back,
you?
I
sir.
am back.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, so next thing is file IO. File IO is nothing but the file handling. It's a very simple in Python. Everything is actually very simple to do. Now to access any file, simply what you have to do is you have to just simply use a function called open. Now to, and when you say open, so what do you want to open? You want to open a file. So I will just, this is an existing file, no, test.txt. You can just simply open it. And then I have to specify the mode in which I want to open it. So I want to open the file whether in the read mode or the write mode or the append mode. So that's what I have to do. So let's say I want to open the file in the write mode. Okay, so for that I have to specify W. And a result of this, you can just simply assign to any variable. Now this variable can be file handle, fh for that. No, you can simply do that. And then you can just simply start doing the file operation. So let me just run this. So I will just comment these lines. So let me just run it. And now I have this fh with me. With fh, I can simply write anything to it. To simply write it, I will just say write. Okay, so today is November 13th. Okay, so I can just simply say that. And if I, no, so basically it is written that content in the file, and I can actually see exactly what is written in this file. So I can go to my Python notebook, and I'll just go to Python notebook and then advanced Python notebook. Okay, so you can see this. This is what, not really. What is the name? It is test.txt. Okay, so I haven't uh, closed this file, so that's why it is. So I can actually just simply close this file, fh.close, and now you see that it is written that. Okay, it is written this statement, whatever we wrote, it has written it. Okay, so let me just run this again, and I can add few more lines. And I can just say file handle.write. Today is Friday, day before Diwali. Right. So I can write these two lines, and you see that actually I have to execute this also. And you see that it has printed this. Only thing is, if you see this line, these two statements are coming together. Okay. Now, what is the solution to fix this?
A space before the second string.
Okay. Yeah, we can put a space before that, but what will happen is it will not come in new line because we are trying to print line by line. So I want this to be in the new line. So what should I do? Okay, so I can use, yeah. What can I do if I want to introduce a new line to it? You can, okay, so you can see that in this thing, it is both of them are
You can
coming.
use \n, right?
Excellent. Yes, we can use \n. So \n uh, is the command given to Python to introduce a new line character. Okay, this will result in a new line character. It's also called escape sequence, and it is the same in all the programming languages. Okay, so this is
Yes.
basically the new line character. So we can do this, and then it will simply introduce a new line. So if now you see, now it is coming in the new line, right? So this is how you can actually write. And if you want to read, simply again, not you want to read, you can just simply, again, you open the file in the same mode. So you have to provide the file name, and then you can specify a different mode. You can say read, R for read. Again, you specify, you assign it to a variable name. So I'm using fh as a variable name. It can be anything. So this will open the file, and then after that, I can actually read everything from the line. So now I can just simply say file.read. It will read everything from this file, and I can say text is equal to this, and I can simply print my text. You see that it has read everything from this file, and it has basically printed it out. There is,
Okay.
yeah, so you can specify a few characters also if you want to do it, right? So you can specify like maybe you don't want to read the full file, you want to read just a few characters, let's say 4 characters, right? So now if I read, so I have already opened the file. Now opening a open file is not a good idea. Whenever you're opening a file and you want, basically you're done with the file operation, you should always close it. So I so this thing I've already done it, so I am not opening. So currently my file is already open state because I've not closed it, so I can continue to use this, right? So I can continue to use this variable fh, and I will say, okay, I want to read 4 characters. Now see, what will happen is you will not get anything. Why you will not get anything? Because you've actually read everything from this file. And at that moment, since you have read everything from this file, your cursor is somewhere in the end. And now, since you're reading from 4 characters from the end, you will of course get nothing. So now instead of doing read 4, what you should first do, you can actually do a seek. If you do seek, you can bring back your cursor to position you want. So let's say I want to seek and I want to take the cursor back to 0. So I'll just simply say seek, and now my cursor has come back to 0. Now if I do fh.read and I say read 4 characters, you see I'm able to read 4 characters from this file. Okay, so this is how you can do all this. Once you've done with all, you can just simply close. You can simply do file.close. Okay, and then your file will be closed, right? So this is basically in a simple way you can do file read and write operations. You can write, you can always read, and you can simply do anything you want. One more interesting thing is, which you can do is, you can actually, once you open the file, you can iterate over line by line. So I can simply use the same command again, same statement again, and I can use a for loop to iterate over this content of this file. So I can say for line in fh, okay, and then I'll say print line. Okay, see, it has got today is November this thing and a day before Diwali, so it has got all the lines from the file, line by line. Okay, now once you've done this, you again have to make sure that you're closing the file. So any resources you open, file connection and database connection, make sure you always close it, because these are resources. These are, you have done some kind of IO operation. You should always close it. Okay. So this is about file handling. Now, is it all clear, or anything you want to ask? Okay, so I'll take it as no, everything is, I'm taking that everything is clear with you. Right. So now, so far we have seen, we've used a lot of inbuilt functions, right? We have used inbuilt functions like print input, int, int str, range, those are the functions, help, dir, those are the inbuilt functions, right? Now, if you want to create your own function, they're actually called user-defined functions, right? So in programming, you have to create a lot of functions, because you want to organize your code properly. You want to structure your code properly using these functions, right? So now to create functions in Python, you use def keyword, you provide a function name, then you provide the parameters. Okay, you provide the parameters of the function, and then you specify a colon. Colon is specify the beginning of the block, and then you define the function body, right? So this is how, these are the things which you're doing inside the function. So I'm basically saying hello to all of them, right? So I'm using all of them here. Yes, Sricharan, you have some question.
Is the f supposed to be there in the print function?
Okay, okay, fine. So f is just used for the formatting purpose. Okay, it's called f strings. I'll just write it here. So what I'm using here is f strings. Okay, this is a way to format any string. If you're creating any string, uh, you can actually use f string. So I'm just giving you an example. Let's say my x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 20. Now you wanted to print the sum of this. So what you, let's say you create a string, right? I'm creating a string that uh, value of uh, sum is, right, and then you have to provide this x plus y. Okay, now this could be this, not very know where it is adding. So you, let's say you end up providing this kind of thing. This will not work. Why it will not work? Because this is integer and this is string. Python will not support,
So
right?
there should be is equal to, there's one extra plus there.
Yeah, so I'm just adding these two values. Okay, I'm just adding these two values.
Okay.
Okay, so basically some value, I just want to say sum of x and y is, so I just want to do this. Okay, but now in Python you cannot add a string and numbers. No, there is no implicit way of handling this. So you will have to convert into a string, right? So this is how you will do. Now this is something which works, right? But you see, you have to have extra plus, and then you have to provide this str. Now, a simpler way would have been, I can. There are various ways to format string. There is a format function also, but probably a simpler way would be, I will just remove this. Okay, I'll get rid of this plus also. I'll get rid of this. I'll provide a plus. Now I want this to be evaluated. Now for this to be evaluated, I will put it inside the curly braces. Now still Python will still recognize as a string. So to tell it that there is something special inside it, so you have to put a f in front. It becomes f string. Okay, so Python sees, oh, there's an f. Okay, so there must be something special. So it will keep and watch On the curly braces, wherever it finds curly braces, it's actually going to evaluate it. So now you see exactly the same thing you're getting, but in much better fashion. So this is what is called f strings. Okay, is it clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So now, so this is what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm saying, you see, otherwise you can say hello, something like this. You can return, you can return something from a function, right? You can also choose not to return anything, right? But in that case, probably you're printing something inside that function. So you're not returning anything, but you're printing something in the function. Okay. Uh, or maybe you're doing some operation, some object manipulation, which is actually reflecting back. Okay, that's a little bit advanced topic. Don't have to worry about it now. But you can choose to return something, or you can choose to return none. If you choose to return none, you can just simply say, you just simply return, remove this return statement. And but by default, Python will always return none. So if you're assigning this to something, you will get none. Okay, so Python will return a none, none as a value. So let's say, as of now, I'm not returning anything. So if I come here and I just simply create a variable value, and if I try to print this value, then you see, sorry, this is small v. So this is, so you see, it prints none. It has no value because you're not returning anything. So Python is returning none. So now, if you want to return something, you can simply return str1, and in this case, Python will print. So Python will return, because you're returning something. You'll be able to print this statement. You can have any number of return statements inside the function. There's no problem. But whenever the first return statement is encountered, your call will return back to the caller. So in this case, this is my caller. And this statement is my caller. So I'm calling this function from this statements. So as soon as any return statement is encountered, this control will come back with whatever return value you're returning from the function at that point of time, and that return value will be assigned to value. Okay, so that's how it will. That's how you can create functions. In a very simple way. It's a very simple concept, creating the functions, but very useful ones, because then you can start building a lot of things. So right, so that is about the functions. Any question on functions? Okay, so no questions. So moving on, I'll just cover one more topic, which is basically called loops. Okay, so now in loops, you have two kind of loops. You have a while. You have this while loop. Now while loop, so you use loops to go over something again and again. You want your code to keep on running. So loops are another flow control statements. You want your code to keep on running, and you want to exit out of the loop depending on some condition. Like for example, no, you have created a game loop, or you have maybe a very simple example is you are printing table of some number, right? Or you're finding all the prime numbers from one number to from let's say 2 to 100. You're finding all the prime numbers. So you have to go loop through all the numbers so to evaluate whether these are the prime numbers or not. So that's where you will actually use loops. You want to do something again and again. Now, so Python provides you actually three ways, but the main ones are the while and the for loop. So while loop again is a very simple thing. You have this while keyword, and then you provide it a condition. The way you provide condition to if statement, if will execute only once, but while will continue to execute till the condition is true, and if will execute only once if the condition is true. Now this condition can be, if, let's say if I have x is equal to 5, right? So I can have this x. So I'm saying till x is greater than 0. So this is one condition. This is true. So which means any code which is inside this while loop will actually execute, right? So I can just simply print this thing. Now I'm not changing the value of x, which means after executing this, the control will come back again and again, which means this condition will never turn false, and you will continue to run this loop infinitely. Okay. So to basically make sure that no, this condition is basically resulting into something, we can actually decrement it. We can decrement it by 1, and if I run it now, you see that no. So I was this condition was true till x was greater than 0. As soon as it became 0, now if you print the value of x, you will see, if I just print the value of x, right? You see the value is actually 0. When the value of x became 0, this loop ended, right? So you see the signature, the way you create is you have this while keyword, you have this condition, then you have this colon. Colon marks the beginning of the block, and then you have this block of statement which are indented. Okay, which are indented. To end the block, only the next thing would be just you simply remove this space, it becomes end of the block. So this statement is after the while loop. Okay. So if I run this now, you see this statement is after the while loop. This is not part of the while loop. If it was part of the while loop, this statement would have been printed again and again, at least 5 times, right? So this is how you can actually create it. Now you see that no, we have used one condition. You can always use logical operator. No, you can always use logical operator to basically no, provide another condition also. Till x is and x is basically whatever less than 10. So this will again, it will be true, and this statement will execute. So again, so as I said, this condition is exactly like if-elif, the way you provide a condition, it can be a single condition or it could be combination of multiple conditions using the logical operators, which is and or, those kind of things are there, right? So this is basically the while loop. Another loop is the for loop. Now the for loop just requires an iterable, as I was describing you. Iterable is something which where you have multiple items and you can select each item and you can do some action on each one of them. So that is what is called iterable. And going over each item, we call it iterations. Okay, or iterating over the items of a sequence. Okay, so I can define any sequence. The sequence can be array x. I can say x is 10, no, 15, and then 25. I can just simply run a for loop for, I'll say for I in x. Okay, so it's a very simple syntax, but you have to be very particular the way it is written. So you start with the for loop, then you have any variable. This can be anything. Okay, this can be I or it can be y in x. So in x, and in is the keyword again, and then here you are providing the iterable. Now this y is going to assume or is going to take value of each item every time, and then inside the loop you can do some actions on them. So I can simply say, okay, I'm getting a y value here. So y is first time I'm getting y is 10. So I can actually create let's say z, and I'm saying, okay, y, I want to find the square of y, right? So and then I want to print right? So I want to print the square of y, and then this is done. So you can just simply execute it, and you're seeing that you're getting square of each number. So you're getting each number in y, and then you're doing some operation on it. Okay, so this is basically how you use for loop. There are two keywords which you use with only with the loops, and those keywords are break and continue. Okay, right. So now break, whenever the break statement is encountered in the loop, anytime, whether it is a part of a condition or you just simply wrote break here, the loop will terminate immediately and the statements after the break will continue to execute. Okay, so break is breaking this loop. It is not breaking the whole code. It is just breaking this loop. Okay, and then it will continue to execute the next set of statements. So if I have break here and I will say print after for loop. Now tell me what will be printed in this case if I execute this block.
Just 100.
Yes, very good. Anything else will be printed?
After for loop.
Excellent. That's what will. Okay, so what? Okay, my mistake. That's what will happen. So it will print 100 and after the for loop. Why this is happening is, so if just in the first iteration, it encountered the break statement, and when it encountered the break statement, this loop ended. Okay, and then it continued to print it continued to execute the next set of statements, next set of programming statements or your code. Okay, so this break could have been inside any if loop also. If I can say if my, let's say if my z is actually greater than 300, then only you break. Okay, so if then in this case your last value will the square of last value will not be printed because okay, so I missed a colon here. So, okay, so now what? Okay, so it will be printed because it is breaking after it is executed, right? So till the second part it was not. So I have to just say if z is greater than 200. In this case, first iteration value of z was 100. It went off, right? It printed this. It executed this. This statement was false. It did not execute break. It came back above again. It took 15 as y. Then z got this value as 225, right? And then you got you printed this. You printed this 225, and then you came to this. This statement became true this time because z is 225, which is greater than 200, and it comes and it breaks here. Okay, so this is basically the break code. I will come to continue. I just want to tell you one more thing. Anytime you have any confusion what is going on as execution, so you can always go to this pythontutor.com and you can just go and start visualizing your code. And anytime you want to check okay, what is execution, you can select the Python version also. Then you can simply say visualize execution, and then you can go step by step. You see it will go for 11 steps, and I execute this. You see X as a list is created, right? And then I'm coming inside the loop, and Z is what, and I'm printing Z. It is getting printed here, and it did not go inside this loop, inside inside this if block, because this condition was false. No, because Z was 100. Similarly, you can actually continue going it. Now Z is 225, and it is printed this value to 225. This time it is going to go inside the block, inside the if block. See, it has gone inside the if block. It will break from it, and it will come to this statement, right? Which is the last one, and this is how it. So you can always use pythontutor.com to visualize your code. In case you have any issue in visualization, you can always use debugger, which comes with your PyCharm and your IDEs. But this is easier. You don't have to start the debugger and all that. You can actually go here and you can just visualize your code. Okay, so this is basically break, and then other one is the continue. Now let's say if I said okay, so continue will just simply bring your code execution to the top of the table. So which means if I put continue, it will not make any difference, because anyway after this statement it would have gone above only. So continue, the purpose of continue is just as soon as you hit continue, even if you had statements after it, they will not be executed. The control will actually go at the top of the loop, and it will start with the next iteration. Okay, so now if I move above print, then you will see that if I say if my x is equal to, I'll just specifically print on 225. So you'll see that 225 will not be printed. It will move on to the next iteration. So if I run this, you see 100 is printed, but when it was 225, it became, this condition became true. It did a continue, and it went top of the loop. It took the next iteration. Next value was 25. Came it powered, and this time this was false, and it actually went ahead and printed 625. Okay, so this is how continue works. Is exactly the same way break and continue work, even with while loop also. Okay, so this is basically the loops which I wanted to cover. A very common pattern is, instead of doing something like this, you can actually do a range. Okay, because that's what Python provides us. Range, you can just simply say I wanted from 10. I want to go from 10 till let's say 30, and at an interval of 5. So if you do that, so I'm getting one extra this thing. So it has got, and I have continue here. So that's why just remove this. So there's no confusion. Now I'm getting this 10, 15, 20, 25. So at the interval of 5, last value anyway is discarded. So I'm not getting this. Okay. So range is commonly used with for loop. And actually range gives you an iterable. You can always convert into the data type you want. You can always use range. You know, we have used it to convert into list. You can convert it into list. You get a list. You can assign it to a list, to any variable. You can convert into tuple, right? You can convert into tuple. You're getting a tuple. So all that you can do with range. Okay, in combination with these different functions. They're also called your constructors. Okay, so this is basically I think all the topics which I wanted to cover. I hope it's all clear to you. If not, you can ask any question from anywhere. If you have any particular question on any assignment, we can discuss that as well. We have about 12 to 15 minutes. We can do that. Okay, so
Sir,
yeah.
how should do the project for
Okay.
the bank management?
Uh, yeah, I'm saying all this thing, the logic you have to build it. One thing I'll tell you is that use functions, create functions. Your life will be much easier. Okay, you create functions to do certain operation. That okay, for withdrawal I will create one function. For deposit I will create one function. Okay, so for file operation, for reading a file, I'll create one function. For writing a file, I'll create one function. In that way, you can do all that. I'll think I may have this function bank project. Do we have? I did build. Okay, so session 12. Yeah, so I'll just simply show you that. See, this is basically I've created a function to write to the file. This makes life easier for me, because whenever I have to do a write, I don't have to do this kind of thing every time. I just simply do a write. Okay. Similarly, I can. This is not a complete implementation. Okay, complete implementation somewhere else. I'm just showing you some portion. I was explaining how to go about building this project. So you can define your bunch of functions, then you can have your statements, something like this, right? So enter your account number, your PIN, then you have this file operation. So file just, so every record for one customer, you will have one record, which is the account number, the name of the person, the PIN, and then the amount. That's it. That's all you need to have. One record
Okay.
per customer. Okay, that is what is your file. That's how you're going to build it. So to start with, you will assume that you already have a file and you have one record of the manager, because to access the banking system, you need some record, right? So you always have one super admin or admin entry always there in the database. So you can create one file beforehand, bankdb.txt, and then you can have one entry for the manager. Then so you can see that this is the input you're taking, and then you're opening this file. So now I'm going to read it. So this is how for records in this thing. So now we are reading, each one of them, and this is where we are trying to authenticate. Okay. So you see, we are trying to authenticate. Now, even authentication, you can move it inside the function. Okay, you can move it inside the function. Just simply call authenticate. Now, no. So if you see, I'm basically splitting all the records because I want to extract the account number and PIN, and that's how I'm going to match that, right? So if account number and PIN are matching, and we say thanks for authenticating, and we close the file. Otherwise, we say invalid PIN or number of PIN, and file close, and we exit the system. So we don't proceed. Okay, so this is functionalities. Once you're authenticating incorrectly, we're exiting. So this is just one of the implementation, but the right way would be maybe why maybe you want to provide them three options, three inputs. So in that way you can do it. So once the, let's say, authentication is through, then you can have this while loop, because this is something you want to give them the option again and again that no, you can do this one, what you want to do now. Okay, you want to withdraw, then you want to check balance. Okay, or maybe you want to deposit some money back, right? So you can do, so for that you can actually run while loop again and again, and that's how you can actually check for different options. So here, no, enter the operation you want to do, and this is the operation which we are providing, right? So enter the operation you want to do, and then simply you are able to you have this amount, you open this file, and then no, you go over this file. So one thing is, so we are actually creating this all records, and then we are printing this all records, right? So this is what we are doing. Now, after doing all this, yeah, so this is, so what we are doing here is, if you see this, we are actually reading the file, and because we will have multiple records, right? So we have to go to that particular customer's record. So what we are doing here is, we are storing all the records in the file array, and then we are basically creating a list. Okay, we're creating the list, and each record we are adding as an item to this list. Okay, so if let's say we had 4 records, so the list will contain 4 items. That is all records list. This is what it is here. Now then I can actually go over this records, all records in the for loop, and I can actually find the right one. So what I'm doing is, because the authentication has already been done, right? So I would have already got this account number here and the PIN, and authentication is already done. So I don't have to authenticate again, but I want to check on the account number, right? So so I'm iterating over all the items, and then I am just finding this. Okay, this is the account number, and I get the balance. And if the balance is more than the amount which I want to withdraw, then actually I can just subtract it from the balance. Okay, and then I am just adding this amount back to this list. One thing which you want to do, because this is a file-based database, the way you will have to access it to make it simpler is you read all the file, and then you write back the whole data. You don't have you shouldn't be writing only that particular line. So now you see I got this particular record, and I'm modifying this particular record, and then I'm writing all the records back to the file again. So that's what I'm doing. See, I'm writing back this record, all the records, to this file again, right? So I'm you look at this. So no, so I'm doing a join. So this is my data, and I'm opening the file, and I'm joining with my this thing, your empty quotes, because I already have a new line character already here. So I'm just adding that, and then I'm writing the whole file. When I'm reading it, you see, no, I have read here. I have read all the files, and when I'm reading it, I'm basically going over this loop, and then that's how I'm actually doing a strip also. Strip will actually remove your white characters. White characters can be your empty string, or it can be also your new line character, or tab, new line character, empty space, all that is white space. You can remove white space using strip function, okay, or method. Okay, so you can use strip to remove the white characters, and once you remove the white characters, then you can get the amount, and you can do this operation. So think through. So generally in software development, you will always have to redo your project, a couple of times. So let's say you're writing some functionality, you have to write and rewrite. So at least two writes generally you will not be able to avoid, unless until it's a very simple thing you're doing, because you always want to reformat your code and put a better version of the code. So you write it, and then you see how can you make it modular. You create functions. How can you optimize? How can you get things done in the lesser lines of code? Okay. So do this project, interesting project, not very hard, but I think you should be able to do it. Okay, to just put some thoughts, the way you think, the way you're building the logic as a human, the way you will solve any problem. The same thing you have to code for computer to solve it faster, for computer to execute faster. As a human being, how will you do this task? You will open the file, you'll look at line by line, and then you'll find, okay, this is my item, this is my account number. You'll see the balance. Okay, this is the balance. Okay, it's 25,000. He wants to withdraw 10,000. Yeah, he can withdraw because it's 25,000. And then instead of 25,000, we'll just simply change it to 15,000 because 10,000 has been withdrawn. So this is what you're doing. So now the same thing, the way you as a human being you're thinking, the same thing you have to translate as code. Okay, for computer to execute this your thinking, but in much faster manner. Okay, that is what
Okay.
programming all about. Okay, so since you guys are getting into programming, so make it a habit. Take any program as a challenge, as an interesting thing to do, right? Because this is something which you want to do. You do more and more, you become more proficient. Okay, you become more, because this will be a main line of work, right? Going forward, at every place there'll be coding here. Coding will be required at every different aspect, and as you guys know maths, right? You will be expected to know coding also going forward, because coding will be at all the fields, be it mechanical, be it electrical, be it robotics, whatever. So become comfortable with it. Okay, start becoming comfortable. The only way to become comfortable with it is to write more and more code, find different challenges, do them. Okay, do them, try to understand. If you're not understanding, you ask the question. Said, I'm not able to understand how to do this. No, we are there to help you. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
So
So
wait,
yeah.
I
Sorry.
can get the recording for this class.
Sorry.
Recording for this class. You're recording the class, right?
Yeah, I'll
I
send it to
can.
you. I'll send it to you. Not only recording, I'll send you the notes also. And
Okay,
there are
sir.
some assignments on it. Do try these assignments. Okay. So this
Okay.
is some classwork and there are some assignments. Do try these assignments. So I'll send the notes and try this assignment. We are not going to evaluate these assignments, but in case you're not able to do it, you please ask us. Okay, I can explain it to you, or maybe I can send you the solution for it. But do try
Okay.
yourself. Interesting ones. Okay, interesting ones. More you do, better you will get at programming. Okay, there is no other shot. There is no other way. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we will end the class. In case you have any question, you can, it's your last chance to ask. Okay, students, so then we will end the class now.
Okay, so bye, sir.
Okay,
So thank
bye.
you, sir.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
informative.
And
Thank you, sir.
happy Diwali to all of you. And
Same to you, sir.
have a pleasant and safe Diwali. Play, if you want to burst crackers, be safe. Okay, and then I'll see you in the next class whenever. Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank
Bye,
you,
sir.
sir. Happy
Thank you,
Diwali.
sir.
Thank you. Bye bye.